All right, thank you very much. Ask the Gardner time. And today our expert is Dr. Kira Sims with the Alabama Cooperative Extension System. She is in today for Bethany O'Rear. Good morning, Dr. Sims. Good to see you.
Good morning.
Good. Let's get right to our questions. We have question number one is from Timothy Efford. What's a good dust to keep bugs from eating your collard greens, that you don't see them just holes in the leaves?
Okay. Yeah. So the first question is going to be, we got to figure out what's causing the holes. What are the bugs? And so if you can scout that plant, flip over underneath the leaves and see what you can see. But usually a 7 dust is one opportunity that a lot of gardeners will go towards. But again, knowing what those insects are and whether or not that product will even work for you. We also see that some folks will use a product called diatomaceous earth, which is more of an organic product that can also help to alleviate insect pressures. But again, if we're scouting, we usually can just pick off a lot of those insects before they get large enough to really cause a lot of damage.
Okay, so and I'm sure if they go to a nursery, they can tell them what they're looking for too, and they can recommend some of those things if they didn't remember.
That's correct.
All of that. Okay. All right. Renee Dorset or Dorset Thompson says, my hydrangea did not bloom this year, but it's growing. Why is it not blooming? Can you tell just by that question?
So it could be because you pruned at the wrong time. So some of our hydrangeas, like our big leaf hydrangeas, the ones that have the really big, pretty pink or blue flowers on them, those need to be pruned right after they bloom. So if you pruned it more in the wintertime, you could have cut off all those blooms, or if you pruned it late last fall. If it is a new growth hydrangea, so say something like a PG, it could just be that we're experiencing some environmental conditions, so drought or even the freeze we had could have killed off some of those blooms that were present already back mid-January when we had that ice storm come through. So what you could do is also contact the local county extension office or myself. We can get you contact information, and if you can send us pictures of we can figure out what exactly the type of hydrangea, and then be able to determine more specifically what may be the cause of no bloom.
All right, well, let's move on to our next one. Pat Mangum Gardner, is it too late to treat tomato plants for blossom end rot if the plants are presently loaded with tomatoes?
So the answer is no. If you're currently experiencing blossom end rot, it's probably due to the lack of moisture in the soil that we've had. It's just not rained a lot, at least not here in Coleman County very much. So you could be seeing that the change in moisture, even if you're watering on a consistent basis. So you could use some kind of calcium or calcium-based fertilizer to help any additional fruit that may come on. If you don't have blossom end rot right now and you're kind of being proactive, just continue to water thoroughly and consistently, especially while we're in this drought period, and then incorporate some calcium fertilizer in your fertilizer routine will help that as well.
All right, Sharon Brakefield says, when do I cut back my roses?
Well, it depends. Depends on the kind of roses you have, but most people are usually calling asking about knockout roses, and those are going to be your late winter pruning. So kind of mid to late February, you would go in and prune. Now, you can certainly, always a good rule of thumb is right after they've bloomed, you can prune them. So whether they're old or new wood bloomers, you can prune then. So to prune now, if they've gotten really big and out of hand, go ahead and do so, but don't prune any later than the first part of August.
All right, let's go to our next one. Lisa Crossley says, one of my lovely Catawba crepe myrtles has not set buds this year. It gets good sunlight. What could be up? I wasn't familiar, but a Catawba is a small flowering tree, I guess different than some of the other ones that we may have. What do you say to that question?
So if that's a variety of crepe myrtle, I'm not familiar with that particular variety, and so therefore again, maybe best to have a picture come in. So I don't want to respond and give the incorrect answer with
Sure.
if we're talking about a different plant. But again, there can always be the condition of some kind of environmental event that has occurred during that fruit or the flower bud set that has caused it, or again, could be a pruning thing if pruning happens. So happy to take that question more by email, specifically if the participant would like to.
All right. For folks who we have Bethany's, so I'm going to go ahead and since folks are used to Bethany's, so Bethany
Sure.
at aces.edu. Bethany can forward them to you, and then you can correspond with them if that's okay. But most
Sounds
folks
great.
are familiar with her email address. But thank you so much, Kara, for being with us today.
Yes, ma'am. Y'all have a good one.
All right, you too.